Good morning everyone. Kapwa ko Filipino, magbasa na tayo ng ating sariling history book, History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 15 April 2023. History of the Filipino People, Selected References. Nandito tayo sa Chapter 17. Alam nyo guys, pang 164 days na nating pagbabasa nito. Mga ilang days na lang tapos na tayo. Okay, basa. Chapter 17. The Wilson administration pursued a Philippine policy which enlarged the self-government of the Filipinos. Roy Carey's book, Woodrow Wilson and Far Eastern Policy, 1939 to 1921, New York, 1957, and the article Woodrow Wilson and Philippine Policy, Mississippi Valley, Historical Review, Volume 41, December 1954, pages 435 to 452, contains that Wilson was willing to sacrifice efficiency and competence in the Philippine Civil Service for greater Filipino participation and autonomy in the government. Wilson's Governor General Francis Burton Harrison provides an interesting narrative of the extent of Philippinization during his administration in the Cornerstone of Philippine Independence, New York, 1922. Manuel L. Quezon, who admitted to having secured Harrison's appointment as Governor General, supports the latter's justification of Wilson's Philippinization policy in The Good Fight, New York, 1946. William Cameron Purvis, The Philippine Islands, 2 volumes, Boston, 1928, comments freely and often very critically of the Wilson-Harrison policy of Philippinization on how free the corpus the bureaucracy in the Philippines, Manila, 1957, is also useful. Napoleon J. Casambres, Manuel L. Quezon and the Democratic Party in Bulletin ng Kapisan ng Pangkasaysayan ng Pilipinas, September 1958, gives pertinent information on Quezon's activities, as does Honesto E. Villanueva's Manuel L. Quezon and the Jones Bill, Number 1 Historical Bulletin, June 1966, which also contains an appendix of a few archival documents hitherto unavailable to the lay reader. Maximo M. Callow's The Case for the Filipinos, New York, 1916, is clearly the best Filipino monograph on the Jones Law, its background, justification, and provisions, as well as effects on American policy in the Philippines. Maximo M. Callow's The Development of Philippine Politics, as well as The Present Government of the Philippines, Manila, 1921. Joseph R. Haydn's The Philippines, A Study in National Development, New York, 1945. And Dapins Liang's The Development of Philippine Politics shed much light on the different aspects of Philippinization and the controversy between Quezon and Osmeña. Gander and Levis's work previously cited remains a useful guide. Chapter 18. Michael Honoratos, A Brief Review of American Interest in Philippine Development and Other Essays, Berkeley, 1968, and Leonard Wood and the Philippine Crisis of 1923 in the Journal of the East Asiatic Studies, Volume 2, March 1967. Point 2, give a detailed account. Nakalagay kasi rito guys, Petit Dead Period 2. So, paano basahin yan? give a detailed account of the Wood administration and debunk the old thesis that the conflict between Wood and the Filipino leaders was caused by the governor's narrow literal interpretation of the Jones Law. On the other hand, the annual reports of the Governor-General 1922 to 1926, Washington 1926 to 1927, offer documentary and other primary sources on the Wood regime, which being Wood's report must be counterbalanced by Filipino sources. No student of this period should overlook George C. Bacobo's General Wood and the Law, a discussion of the legal aspects of the political crisis in the Philippine Islands, Manila, 1924. D. R. Williams, The United States and the Philippines, New York, 1926, is a contemporaneous commentary on United States-Philippine policy in the 1920s and is highly critical of the Filipino leaders' actuations relating to the campaign for independence. Herman Hagedorn's Leonard Wood, A Biography, Volume 2, New York, 1931, contains references to the crisis between the governor and the Filipino leaders and provides insight into Wood demand. G. R. Hayden's The Philippines Study in National Development is again an invaluable source for the campaign for independence. The activities of the various independence missions are all fully revealed in Bernardita Reyes Churchill's unpublished monograph, Philippine Independence Mission to the United States, 1919 to 1929. Churchill records interestingly the disparities between the private or confidential and public pronouncement on independence of ranking Filipino leaders. Sergio Osmeña Sr., who headed several missions for independence, discusses the troubles and achievements of the independence campaign in our struggle for independence, and Teodoro A. Agoncillo's supplementary readings on a short history of the Filipino people. Shirley Jenkins' American Economic Policy in the Philippines, Stanford, C.A., 1954, and Pedro Abelarde's American Tariff Policy towards the Philippines, New York, 1947, are too good of incomplete studies on trade and general economic development in the Philippines. E.B. Hartendorf's A Short History of Industry and Trade in the Philippines, Manila, 1953, contains significant information and statistical data on Philippine economic development during the pre-war period. Chapter 9, Grayson V. Kirk's Philippine Chapter 19. Sorry ha, chapter 9 naman ako. Chapter 19. Grayson V. Kirk's Philippine Independence Motives, Problems and Prospects, New York, 1936, is still the most authoritative work on the pressure groups that agitated for Philippine independence during the Depression. But Tudor reference between two empires, the Order of the Philippines, 1929 to 1946, New Haven, 1965, offers a more balanced and perceptive, though briefer, treatment of the motives and purposes of American and Philippine interests behind the campaign for independence. Prints 3 articles in the Philippines Studies, American Interest and Philippine Independence, 1929 to 1933, October 1963. Philippine Interest and the Mission for Independence, 1929 to 1932, January 1964. Guys, sundan nyo ako ng basa. Ay, magbasa rin kayo para masundan nyo yung binabasa ko dito. Nasa selected references na tayo. Kumbaga sa ito yung mga references ng book ng History of the Filipino People. Makikita nyo yung mga sinulat niya dito. Prince 3 articles in the Philippine, inulit ko ha, Prince 3 articles in the Philippine Studies, American Interest and Philippine Independence 1929 to 1933, October 1963. Philippine Interest and the Mission for Independence 1929 to 1932, January 1964, and Philippine Independence and the Last Lame Duck Congress, April 1964, contribute toward understanding the circumstances that led to the passage of the Harry Howes Cutting Act. Also of interest is another Friend article, The Philippine Sugar Industry and the Politics of Independence, 1929 to 1935, Journal of ASEAN Studies, Volume 22, 1963, pages 179 to 92. Ibig sabihin yan guys, 179 to 192. J.R. Hydes, The Philippines, A Study in National Development, is of course pertinent here for his discussion of the struggle for power between Quezon and Osmeña after the passage of the Harry Howes Cutting Act. The Proceedings of the Constitutional Convention 1934 to 1935, Manila 1967, is absolutely indispensable in understanding the problems and decisions of that body in drafting the Commonwealth Constitution. Jose M. Aragos, The Framing of the Philippine Constitution, Manila 1936, and Miguel Cuadernos, The Framing of the Constitution of the Philippines, Manila 1937, are especially useful, the authors being delegates to the Constitutional Convention. Claro M. Rector, Chairman of the Constitutional Convention, provides a keen analysis of the important provisions of the country's organic law in our Constitution, which is included in Teodoro A. Agoncillo's supplementary readings on the short history of the Filipino people, the compilation of documents relating to the inauguration of the government of the Commonwealth of the Philippines, Washington, 1936, published under the auspices of the United States House of Representatives, is, as its title implies, an important source on the legislative background on the Commonwealth. Chapter 20. Bukas na itong chapter 20 guys. Bye everyone. God bless.